Hello!
Hello AOS fans!
It's the Agents of Wyrdhollow.
And in this video we're going to give you an overview of the new Rivals deck, the Voidcursed Thralls.
Oh, the Voidcursed Thralls. A very cool sounding Rivals deck with a very cool looking card on the front of it.
It has. Yes, and it's got a really nice theme around it. It's basically this kind of the void somehow cursing them, funny enough, and they become thralls.
Funny thing, really.
But it kind of takes them over, and as you go through the game, more and more of them succumb to this sort of curse. And,
the artwork's very cool because it's like you're getting just covered in what looks like the galaxy, or it's like you're fading out, and you can just see the galaxy in the void where you used to be.
It's got a sort of Galactus vibe.
Yeah,
to it.
It is very cool.
I do like that. So far, that's about all I like. That's a bit hard. I had Pete dice for the 2 games that we played with them.
Chronic case of the Pete's.
And I was playing aggressive Warband, so we didn't really test it out as well as we'd like. My main observation is I'm not sure how easy it will be to play this with Nemesis, because a lot of the stuff you kind of need to play the Voidcursed cards to get the Voidcursed fighters to score the Voidcursed objectives.
It's a very tightly knit deck, isn't it?
Everything. So there are a few +1 cards, but they're only plus cards for Voidcursed fighters. So if you haven't got the card means to do that, then you're a bit stuck. You can, it does have a plot card. You can at the beginning of each round choose a Voidcursed fighter. So at the start of a round, if there are no surviving friendly Voidcursed fighters, choose one surviving friendly fighter. The chosen fighter is Voidcursed. Actually, you only have one at a time. Yeah.
Unless you can spread it around somehow.
But there are ways of doing it with the deck. Voidcursed fighters cannot make actions other than move actions, attack actions, and charge actions. Voidcursed fighters cannot make range 3+ attack actions, so that does rule out some warbands. The new Fast Riders, for example, would absolutely hate it.
Ephlim's not going to be fond of it either.
No. Voidcursed fighters cannot be driven back, which is quite interesting and easy to forget. And Voidcursed fighters also have a defense characteristic of 1 shield, so again, you need to pick carefully. So partly why I picked the Sons of Velmorn and Begor to play them, because they only have 1 shield generally, not everybody, but mostly only have 1 shield, but it didn't really work out very well.
You generally don't want to go for a warband that's going to be on 2 dodges a lot, because that's not going to be good for them.
No, interestingly, there are ways to make enemy fighters Voidcursed too. So if you are fighting against a 2 dodge warband, it's quite handy.
It's also quite cool that when you're Voidcursed, you can only move, attack or charge. So if you could if you're up against the Sepulchral Warden or Scritch or someone that's got a nifty action, and you suddenly go, no, you can't. And you're like, oh no!
I hadn't thought of that.
So that could be a really nifty little.
I hadn't thought of that, because you've played the Headsman, and they don't really have.
Not really. They don't have a specific action. Although, like the sharpening guy, he does have the ability to whet the blade of the executioner, so he wouldn't be able to do that. So there are some warbands that have little tricks in there that they wouldn't be able to get away with if they were Voidcursed.
It does bring a couple of issues we kind of found, which maybe it's our ageing brains, but there's with these plot cards now, there's an awful lot of things going on.
Much
that you have to remember. Now we are in a slightly unusual position where we play lots of warbands all the time. We're always changing. If you're playing them all the time, you're not going to forget. But it was quite easy to forget the shield. It's quite easy to forget which one is Voidcursed, because it's a bit random when at the point at which they get Voidcursed, and you have tokens on them, and you had tokens and I had tokens.
And it doesn't even tell you to put a token on. No, it just says they're Voidcursed. So that's true. You don't even need to put a token on. No. But you kind of have to, or else you're just going to forget, because
there is no Voidcursed token as such.
No.
So it was easy to forget stuff.
That's not so much to do with the Voidcursed deck so much as just the game. The fact that more and more warbands are having these token elements, like Ephlim has the Flame Spuler Warp Splash tokeny things as well, and even in the game against Velmorn you had the command tokens as well as that. So
so I do feel like extra token sets are going to be useful, and certainly having as many colours to your hand as possible. Now obviously we have got loads, but it still gets, when you've got 3, I think when I played them in the first game, I think I had 3 different colour tokens.
I think you had 4 on Velmorn, because he had a wound token, he had the command token, he had the Voidcursed token, and he had the condemned token.
And then I picked him up, and then it was like,
tokens everywhere. I don't know, has he got 4 wounds? I think he's dead.
So that's an interesting thing. The cards are really quite nice. They have one interesting card, which is for glory, where if you get everybody on the table Voidcursed, you score it.
For glory,
which is pretty nice, and can be scored when all your fighters are dead as well.
And if you happen to be up against an elite warband of 3 fighters or something, and you've lost 1 or 2 fighters, if you've got an elite warband, that could be very easy to score very early in the game.
Yes.
I mean, you might not be in a good shape after that, but if you manage to take some of your opponent out as well, maybe not too bad.
Interesting trying to pick which warbands are good for it, because the more fighters you have, the harder it is to get them all void cursed.
Yeah.
But the fewer you have, the harder it is to get your opponents void cursed, because you generally need to be adjacent and things.
And there was an interesting element that you noticed in the deck, that one objective card specifically favours a large warband and lots of voidcast, and the other one specifically favoured having a smaller warband with less friendly.
Well, the one where you've got to get everybody.
Yeah.
That, for example, you want fewer warbands, and but there are some where you've got to have more Voidcursed fighters in both halves.
Yes.
Than your opponent has
so
fighters.
It's like,
that's really quite, because you've got a 3-fighter warband, you can't ever really score that.
It feels like you definitely want an aggressive warband, so if you can find an aggressive warband that rolls dodges so they can benefit from the shields, that's a good start. And maybe about 5 fighters is probably around your limit. Yeah. So I'm thinking, straight off the bat, people like Garrick could do quite nicely.
You can see the games on our Patreon. So if you do want to check them out, do consider joining us on Patreon, and you can have a look at the games, the raw footage of the games, and it is quite raw. Yeah,
it's quite raw, but it's good fun, so do check that one out. But you're looking for a warband that's got 4 or 5 fighters ish that ideally rolls dodges, so they gain from the shield, but are also quite aggressive. I'm thinking Null Spirit Pact possibly might be a good one.
Yeah, they'd be pretty good.
We also noticed that there's an objective in there which pretty much confirms that a fighter that is dead remains void cursed, which kind of lends the fact that they don't tell you to put a token on the card to signify it, because when someone's dead you take all the tokens off. True, so when a fighter is dead, they're still void cursed, so if you have some way of bringing them back, they'll be void cursed when they come back. Yeah.
Interestingly also, I think this is the first time it's happened in Underworlds, there's a card in the deck which you give to your opponent, or you can give to your opponent, to void curse one of their fighters.
Yeah, but it's an upgrade, isn't it?
It's an upgrade, yeah. I think you can choose to put one of your own, but you can give it to your opponent, and they can choose who they put it on.
Yeah.
So, and just and again, Pete and I aren't that bright, but after the first game, we managed to leave it in the deck.
Yeah.
And then play the second game with it still in the deck.
I can see if you're playing a best 3 at a tournament and you're rushing, you're trying to get stuff done, I can definitely see your opponent suddenly going, that's your card.
Like, yeah. So I guess if you've got sleeves, it's probably better, because you have different colour sleeves.
Yeah,
you might not if you have the generic Warhammer ones.
Yeah, that's true.
Then, or Games Workshop ones, then you could have. Might not be easy. That's good. I reckon there's going to be people losing that upgrade.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of instances, I think.
Can you send it back to me, please?
Or people will have a second one. They'll be like, I'm playing this, here's your one, give it back to me at the end. It's in a bright green sleeve that's twice the size of normal.
Yeah, I guess you could print one out, couldn't you?
Yeah,
print one out and sleeve it in a different colour sleeve. So that's something to consider. They have quite a cool ploy, which enables everybody who's void cursed, every friendly void cursed fighter, to make an attack action. So not a particularly great attack action, but it's still an attack action, which is, if you're playing Magors, is quite handy, because you might inspire off it or something. It's quite useful. Does bring me to another point, which is that there are some cards which are friendly void cursed fighters, and some cards which are all void cursed fighters, and you kind of need to make sure you read and be careful what the text is, because it's different. There's objectives with both. There's upgrades with both. Well, not upgrades with both. There's ploys with both. So you just have to make sure. So there's a few domain gambits, and one of them is, I think, the defense dice. There's one for defense dice, which is for everybody who's void cursed, and there's one for gives extra attack dice, which is only your own fighters. So it's kind of, I actually didn't play that in one game.
No.
To waiting for Pete to not be next to me or something, and I didn't need to. I could have got on with it.
They've got quite a nice 2 Glory Surge card, which is have 3 Void Cursed fighters next to each other.
Yes.
A little conga line, which isn't too hard to achieve.
After your opponent's
that's the tricky thing,
go. So Pete managed to scupper that
just
over and over
pure
again,
luck,
purely
just
by
by
accident.
just sort of staggering around. I don't know what's going on.
I'm going to spook you over here.
Just stand still. I think the deck overall, it's going to be hard to counter it, because if you've got an aggressive warband coming at you, they're going to be getting up in your grill, they're going to be using these cards. There's not a lot you can do to really stop it, and once you're void cursed, you can't get rid of it. There's no way to clear it off. There's no way that you can try and counter it. So it's just, it's the essence of that deck really, is that there's this void curse just creeping over everybody and taking over everything. So that's quite cool and thematic.
Yeah, it does feel very nasty for some of those warbands you specify where you could stop you doing your uber actions.
Or if you've got like the Arena with their double dodge straight off the bat, it's like no, not anymore. And also, you were hoping to roll shield dodges to reduce the damage, but you're only getting one shield now instead, so that reduces the chance of the damage reduction as well.
Yeah. So it's definitely got a potential. I don't think I've unlocked it. And I'm sure there were people out there better than me who do unlock it. I do feel like you're going to have to take the bulk of the cards, though. I don't feel like you, as a Rivals deck, it isn't going to be one of these ones where you just take a couple of cards, because they all kind of hinge off the fighters being Voidcursed, and you need to get as many of them Voidcursed as you can. So once you've done that, then you might as well clear the objectives. So it'd be interesting to see what percentage of cards go with it, but I'm not sure.
There's probably
it's all or nothing, really.
There's probably a few upgrades maybe that aren't quite so needed, and there's a few of the domains you might not take over others, because I don't think you've got any objectives in there that rely on having domains played or in effect or anything. So some of the domains might be optional, but there are some that are quite nice again. So it comes down to that challenge that they're making very flavourful warbands, and they're making very flavourful Rivals decks as well, but then combining those two into a Nemesis deck or even into a Championship deck can be very tricky. I think Championship, you lose all of the flavour really, just because you're going to take the cards, like you just can take all the +1 damage cards, all the really nice attack upgrade cards, all the really defensive upgrade cards or whatever. I like the fact that in Nemesis there's that challenge of, well, I want to take this warband, I want to take this Rivals deck, but which cards do I want to keep for each? It's more pronounced in the later seasons, I think, than the earlier ones. Yeah,
of course, if you took this and the head curse, you'd have 2 plot cards to deal with.
Head hurting.
Exactly. So that is our little overview of the Voidcursed Thralls. Let us know what you think of them. I'm sure it'll be on Path of Glory and the Warhammer community pages, so you can have a deeper look. But let us know what you think of this video. Do like and subscribe.
And ring that bell
if you've enjoyed it.
And don't forget to check us out on Patreon. Like we say, you will get all of our battle reports on there. You'll get to see them all raw and uncut, and all of the swearing, the singing, the dancing.
There's quite a lot of content going on there now.
There's a lot,
We're playing a lot more. We're playing a lot more games, and then just chucking out the raw footage and then talking about them.
Yeah, like now. So we'll see you soon, maybe in the Wyrdhollow.